People listen. For us to influence anything in the area, we have to have clean hands. So it is important that we don't get into politics, we don't get into things that we really have no control.
Thank you.
Because if we try to dib and dab on everything else, we lose our effectiveness. That's the reason why we really need to curtail how we're looking at things. The programs we need to get involved in. Do we need to expose politicians and make them accountable? Yeah, it's important. But how do we do that? Is it by interviewing them? I saw on the email somebody had gone out and interviewed politicians and asked them questions about accountability, which is really, to me, very, very provocative. If you can get these people out there and ask them, hey, you've been here for 3 years. What have you done for your people who actually elected you? We know you build these houses. We know how you have all these monies. But what have you done for these people? What is the true meaning of representation? Now, that magazine was able to speak to someone to try to elicit their position about that. Now, this is the kind of things we can do without necessarily going out and taking a knife or a gun or try to intimidate people. We can actually influence people, influence policy. We can make a lot of changes by being an organization whose idea will be a non-profit with no political interference, very credible, an organization that does not need anything back in return, but only be there for ourselves, our welfare, as well as our roots back there. What I'm trying to get to is we need to call ourselves to the attention of what we can do and not talk about everything else out there, because we really cannot do everything. We need to start from somewhere. We need to be able to build this organization in such a way that we can influence all these things without necessarily putting our hands in dirt. So that's all I just want to say. So let's just have a good vision of where we are trying to go. The reason I'm saying this is because there is really no point to talk about everything that we really can't do anything about.
Thank you very much.
Can we keep it briefly? I get a couple of hands and then we can wrap it up.
Can I say something? I haven't said anything since yesterday.
I'm a good listener. I like to listen.
Yeah,
Yeah. Since yesterday we gathered, I've heard a lot. And all along I was listening. But this is my turn. Well, Yako in diaspora started the name, I heard about it last year in Dallas. When these two guys came in to visit, after Ominidian's death, they said, okay, we are coming over to spend the Christmas, with you guys. We said, oh, that's wonderful. So 25th of December, we spend the Christmas, just Christmas. We cook it, just talk and, we thought it's just get together. Then New Year, they came to my house. Talk, eat, we thought it's get together. But along the way, from that year to now, they've been giving correspondence to everybody, saying we have a union called Yako in diaspora. To me, this is the first year I'm seeing this as really, really called Yako in diaspora. Then for us now to start hammering the big items, I think it's unnecessary. Because number one, we have to build the foundation strong first. First thing first. The first thing we have to do first is to know each other and know one another and start the union here in our house. And then when we start the union and it's strong enough for us to move overseas, then we can go ahead. Number one question I have is, do we have any organization do we know who is our president? Do you know who is our secretary? Do you know who is this? And when are we going to do that? Because since yesterday, all we are talking is what we will do, what we will not do, what we will do this. So I was just listening to see when we are coming because it's 5 o'clock. And we haven't even gone to the level of election or do this. We have to start first thing first.
I will take that.
Beyond what we are doing.
I will take that question. Very relevant point. Very good point. But I would like to draw all of your attention back to the program agenda. You know, for every organization to work, definitely you have to have a vision and a mission. There are stipulated missions that we believe we, in a short term or a long term duration, we can carry out successfully if we work together. That is why in our mission we know that we have to unite, like she said, and we have to build a strong coalition to sustain the change that we want to see in Yakor. So that question is going to be addressed. The formation or the electoral process of getting to know who within us would govern or would hold a position of leadership, we will definitely get to that. I still believe that it's important that a lot of all that we have talked about was necessary. No matter how small or big it is, it was important that we air out everything. We are not going to accomplish or do everything. Many questions have been raised. We have been getting emails back from home. People have been talking to us, just as Dr. Eko indicated by that email he received from home. There are a lot of people that are watching that we don't even know that are watching. When I went home to get married early this year, middle of this year, April, May, the chairman of my wedding was the former governor. And we discussed extensively on this very issue of Yakor diaspora. And I would have to tell you that there's no email that goes out that he does not open.
You read all the emails. I'm monitoring.
So we know we have a system of how we are able to track who sees, read, and report to us. So it's not coincidental that a young girl, a young lady, not a girl, wrote in a response about this gathering on the very issue of the so-called Yakor big man. A very interesting read. You will see our emails, you will see. It was very necessary. So we will get to the election process, and you go back and look at the program agenda, look at the vision, look at the mission. It is stipulated. We will accomplish that which we can because human cannot do everything. So we will move forward. Besides, because of time factor, I mentioned earlier on that are those who will be leaving back to their destinations today. So whatever you have left to say, I'm sure we will continue to interact. It is not over because this is only the beginning. So I would like Mr. Edison to just wrap up quickly so that Mr. Patrick and Mr. Ibian, we can move into the next phase of the agenda here.
Okay, Mr. We thank you for stealing my thunder. I really think that we needed an opportunity to air out things. That is very important to make sure that everybody is on the same page and understand what our problems are. In summary, some of the key things that came out. Somebody mentioned electricity. I do not understand why Nigeria today does not have electricity. It is not something new, but it is beyond the scope of what we can take on. And I don't even think we can just generate and distribute electricity in Yakor. Usani mentioned something very important.